How's it going?
It, are things.
Good, thanks. Uh, just moving along. Um, were you back in? Are you back in San Diego?
Yeah, back in San Diego.
Cool.
Hi,
Oh.
person who I assume is Dan because there's everybody's named Dan.
And
Oh, yeah,
then
you're on mute.
in Slack, I think I don't know if it's still like that, but for a little while, Robert changed his name to Dan as well, which was now you're just messing with me.
I'm Kevin.
Hey Kevin, yeah, I'm Dan. I don't know how to change my default name. I'm always small data because that's the account that I set this up under.
I tried changing it in 3 different ways, and so I just used the 3 dots to over your yeah.
Let's see, rename. Wait, I shouldn't call myself Dan. That's insufficient information. There we go.
Yeah. You want a set of one, not. I just got off the phone with Toli, so he should be hopping on in a second.
Cool. Hey, Toli.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, Dan.
Hey, Toli.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. And has Robin online today? I think other Dan, third Dan. Although I told him he'd be first Dan in my eyes. I think he might be traveling this week. So I don't know if he's going to be attending today, but we can try to give Rob a second. I'll just send him a quick note. But in the meanwhile, why don't I just quickly pull up the screen share, and then we can start with maybe updates. All right. Shoot. Okay, does that make sense? Or totally, how do you want to? I'm hoping. Yeah. Why don't we give, sorry for this organization, I'm just trying to give Rob a second, but I think we should just get started because he might not be able to join. Why don't we start with just a quick round robin of stuff and introductions, and then we can take it from there. Does that make sense, totally? So, because what I'm hoping to do too in the future is just to quickly not just start with the business updates, but really with the dev updates, like for the first half, and then save 15 minutes for just more technical questions. And because sometimes we get mired in the technical stuff too early, and so maybe if we just try to table that at the end of the meetings, then we can make sure we hit all the just like the small newsy things. But definitely wanted to give a quick introduction to Kevin, who I don't think was on the previous call, to Dan Pfeiffer and Dan Dotson. And why don't we, Kevin, do you want to just quickly start with an update on what you've been up to?
Well, quick introduction, like, hey, Yams. Kevin, I'm in San Diego. I've been with Edgy since February or March of last year. And I've just been helping on the UI component of the web monitoring software. This past week, I've been just catching up because I was like in the woods and road tripping for like the last 2 weeks. So just catching up a lot, and then finishing up some minor PRs for the list view. They're not important right now because it's not the part of that the analysts need to use right now. So just like helping out there, and then reviewing some PRs. Like Rob did a big PR switching our build process from Gulp to Webpack. So just reviewing that. So that was the past week. Mainly
Cool.
catching up.
Right. That's issue 88, right? The Webpack stuff, the Gulp to. Okay. Cool. Dan Pfeiffer, do you want to give a quick update on what you've been up to and what you're working on, and if there are any blockers or help you need?
Sure. Yeah. So I should say I'm not like very experienced with React. So a lot of what I've been doing is just kind of getting a sense for how things work through making a change, seeing how it breaks the website. I also took a little detour down the Vagrant hosting like possibility. It's been a while since I've used a lot of this stack, and it seems like it's pretty Mac oriented, which I happen to have a Mac, so that's good for me. But I was trying to see if I could get it running in VM, since that would add some flexibility. Anyway, this is all to say, I didn't get a lot done, but I feel like I've gotten up to speed a little bit. The issue I was working on is 167, which is the nothing assigned to the user, and you just get a loading loading symbol. I have some ideas about that I'd be curious to run by people. There's some related issues around just like how errors are handled in general. When
Yeah, I think there's some actually issues that are just about error handling in general. So if this is surfacing with them and this is an opportunity to look at them again, that'd be super great. Especially as we're moving towards, getting, getting more users into the UI. Great.
Yeah, there's a huge proportion of the code base that's still sort of prototyping in the sense that it doesn't even attempt to handle errors effectively. And there's a sort of umbrella issue that's like handle errors,
Yeah.
Which is 50 million things, not
Right.
one concrete thing. I would be really curious to know what kind of issues you hit trying to run it in Linux, because we have at least one person who is mostly working in Linux. So I haven't heard anything from him, but if you have feedback, like that would be very useful to know what's not.
It was actually pretty straightforward. I think there was just one. There was one place where I had to like edit a shell script that RB and ENV had set up. I forget. I don't know. It was like hard coded to one path, and I just changed it to be more general. The problem I actually hit was, I think, a VM issue. Like the VM just froze up unexpectedly.
Oh.
Just like stopped replying. Like I couldn't get an SSH session going to it. It was just like in the middle of doing stuff and stopped, which I think is like a VirtualBox issue and not worth diving into right now. So I got it working on the Mac fine.
Was the RVM thing that was hard coded in something in the VM or in one of our scripts that's in the repo?
No, I think it was like a general. It was like something build, and the problem was basically like it's a shell script that has hashbang and then a path to like a specific Ruby that doesn't exist in Linux. And there's a general solution to that, which is like you can do user bin env, which picks whatever Ruby.
Right. Is that a shell script that's in our repo?
No. This is just
Okay.
like a dependency that I mean, maybe I should go to them and like make a PR. It seems like an easy fix that probably will help other people.
Yeah. Was that an RBM or RVM?
I've been out of Ruby so long, I forget what, I think it's RB, it's the one that's recommended, RBENV, is that right?
I think in our docs, if we recommended one, it was probably RVM because that's what I use.
Okay.
But I know like RBM has sort of taken over and become more common, I think.
I think it's RBN, yeah.
Sorry
Anyway.
to interrupt. Can we?
Anyway.
I don't know if you. Yeah. I don't. Great that you could join, Rob. I was sort of hoping to just do more of a stand-up style and then hold more, because I know we get more in the weeds in the technical discussion sometimes, which is great. But there were some business items that.
No, yeah. Just tell me to shut up.
Okay. But it's like there's information flowing, and I know the face.
Yeah, just tell me to shut up and say do it on Slack. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Do you want to give a quick update, Rob? Now that you're actually told you to shut up, but what you've been working on, and if you need what you have been working on. What are you working on?
I am. Well, I was going to be working on the two major issues we have in DB that are staying the way moving forward, which I can't remember the numbers on off the top of my head, but they're recent in chat.
Yep.
One is changing sites so that they are multiple relationship with pages, so that we don't have multiple pages representing the version of that page in different sites. And the other is multiple URLs for pages, or more canonicalized URLs. So when we import from Internet Archive, we don't wind up with like 4 pages for a single page. So those two, but I bailed on those last night to work on caching, which we had continually put off because it didn't seem like that big a deal until analysts started using it, and immediately made me get like 80 or 100 emails last night from the servers about them falling over, because some of those pages that the analysts are looking at are giant, like 600 kilobyte plus HTML files. So those slow down the diff for just a little.
Okay. Cool. Sounds good. And then finally, Dan, third Dan. How's it going?
It's going. So I've actually got some major news. I know Tolly is on the call, and Tolly was just in touch with Karen, so maybe he's already spread the news somewhat. But I am going to be moving on from Climate Central. I just gave notice officially yesterday, so things are fairly complicated right now. I'm really sorry about the timing. I know it's like, especially from Edgy's perspective, it's not good timing. And it happened fairly quickly. As of last year, I know more of my time was supposed to be spent on Edgy. That actually was completely unrelated. That was purely other Climate Central oversubscription. And so it was only really about mid-December when it started looking like my time at Climate Central might be winding down. So I know this might put certain things in kind of a bind. I want to be able to find some time to contribute, to the extent that I can. It's not going to be as much time as it was before, of course. But even if I could find, if things are really, really in a crunch, and if I could find time on a weekend, I'd be happy to do it. And I don't want, I don't want to put anything like at risk. So, once again, I apologize for the timing. I wish it could have been better on Edgy's side.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Dan. We were excited, of course, to have you working with us, and we're disappointed to have you leave. In some ways, too, it's probably better that you didn't get too much further in the weeds and then have to bail.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
Because I know new jobs also, have steep learning curves too. But we really appreciate your offer to help, as you can, as you have availability. Did anyone else on the team have any questions or comments? We can just, because we have, Twilio and I, we chatted for transmission. We had a quick call right before this one just to sort of brainstorm. So, but others might have some questions too.
I feel like there was one bug that you took. Are you going to have time to finish that, or?
Was that a bug? Let me check on that issue.
Oh, while you're looking that up, Dan,
Yep.
maybe I quickly chime in.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry to see you go. All the best with everything in the future. So I literally talked to Karen maybe an hour ago. Seems like things are moving pretty quickly. Definitely appreciate the transparency. Climate Central. So Karen asked not to disseminate this very widely yet, but I think the team deserves to know about next steps, and this, will potentially affect our roadmap and runway for the release. And so I think quick planning might be useful. Climate Central Karen said that Climate Central could give us $15,000 basically to hire a contractor or someone else to fill in the time. And so I think that is up for the team to decide whether we make use of someone in our network and pull them in. And I think we could probably move us and ask Climate Central to move as quickly as possible on this, so we can make up for any discontinuity. Karen did send along one contractor that at least Climate Central seems like they have had good experience with in the past, and may be interested in this work, and drop a link to this guy, Eitan Frachtenberg, which is admittedly a cool name, but I don't know anything else about him. So anyway, I think probably worth the discussion, and also looping in funding folks in Edgy so that we can make a decision. I also asked Karen, because this will potentially delay the getting off Versionista, if Climate Central could help out with some additional funds. We'll see what they say.
Yeah, and I wish I could offer more insight into that side of things. I've heard that this contractor you mentioned is someone who's worked with Ben, my supervisor, before, and he's supposedly a great guy, and hopefully we don't know what his availability is, but I think he's like not working full time that I know of, so there's a good chance that that'll come through. Rob, you mentioned a bug. I'm not sure if there's something particular you have in mind. I have issue 67 here in the monitoring UI, which looks fairly self-contained. So, if everyone's okay with it, I I can go through with this one at least. Like Ray said, it's probably not good for me to get involved in something that's going to go too deep into something that I won't be able to finish. But anything that's relatively self-contained, maybe even certain bugs, I might be able to handle. But yeah, we'll just want to think about the roadmap and make sure I'm not like in the critical path for anything.
Yeah, I think that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
I was just curious whether you thought you'd be able to keep
I think
keep
so.
through it or not.
I think I can handle this one. It doesn't look like it will be too involved.
Okay, yeah, that would be great if you want to take a stab at it. And if any questions come up, just let us know in the Slack channel. So let's see. So in terms of the possible use of those funds, do you want to continue that discussion now, Toli, or should we table it for later? I just wanted to let other people know about some just updates on like the UI testing with the analysts and things like that. I think we have like 6 people, analysts, who are going to try this week to use our UI. So thanks, Rob, for getting those sheets up. They've been assigned this morning. I was working with Jake on that, and we also gave them the feedback form. So they'll be recording it there, but then also posting in whenever they update in the Slack channel, so that we'll know to sort of that they're using it, and if they have questions or if problems are cropping up, we'll be able to track that work, which is great. So, and I think Toli gave a good sort of heads up too that this might be a little bit take a little more time to do than the normal workflow, so they're ready for that. But then also we're tried to be very clear that if anything comes up like that impedes their work and they sort of shift back to Virginista or feel a need that they're that they let us know as soon as possible too, so that we can be aware of any of these problems. That was my main update as well. Toli, did you have anything else to add? There's the big report coming out, or I guess it's released today.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations, everyone. It's out. It was. Seems like it's getting some really great pickup, actually. The New York Times wrote about it and basically hit all the talking points that we wanted to hit, and which is, from a messaging perspective, I don't know, rare maybe. But and let me just drop the actual URL to the report in the channel. Yeah, so if you haven't gotten a chance, check it out. It's the culmination of a lot of people's work, and it's been awesome to work on it, awesome to see it come together, and I hope will be a great resource for others to understand kind of the value of this work and also understand what's been happening. So I'm sad that it was such a long report because we had so much to write about, but I think it came together well. So if anyone has questions about that, we're going to compile all the coverage from it, and we're expecting probably more to reverberate down the line. We'll keep you up to date on that, and we'll probably give some space between any other report releases so that people can focus on this for at least a few weeks. But other than that, there are ongoing conversations within the website monitoring working group about shifts in governance and all of those on the channels.
Cool. Thanks, Toli. And then, and so what I was also thinking of for are there still ongoing Internet Archive updates that or is that sort of on hold? Because there's a whole like line item in the agenda, and page feature now I think is not relevant anymore. Although I guess there are questions once in a while cropping up. I'm thinking maybe we can just fold that into either PM updates or Toli's analyst updates.
I will say it's still on my agenda to follow up on some of our deliverables to Page Freezer, including writing a blog post and recognizing them on our website. Yeah, I think the developers as well would be good to produce some kind of feedback document. Don't think it needs to be too extensive, saying kind of what our experience with Page Freezer has been, how it can have gone better. So in terms of IA, I don't know exactly where we've left it, but I have some issues that I think we should really focus on, but that's maybe moving into the next steps of kind of when we really get off version East and rely on IA. I think we should really cinch up that relationship during that transition.
Right. So I guess there's still lingering things here enough to sort of, I think, maybe warrant a line item. But in terms of milestone, yeah, we're really close, I think, to reaching the, considering milestone 1 complete. I mean, really the only ticket or issue left is 58, which was, you know, the scraper writing to the files. So I can try to pull that up, because maybe it is considered done. I'm not sure how, if like, because we might have to change it again, but maybe we can close that issue and then sort of consider that issue done. And now we're just sort of testing. I don't know if that makes sense to people. Oh, it has been moved and done. Okay, great. Last time I checked, it wasn't. And then so I guess the one quick question is, how do we want to define done for milestone 1? Is it that there are no more, I mean, if that was the last issue assigned to that, but I mean, some of it is just conceptual for ourselves, but it's nice to sort of, for us to be able to say like, oh, we've reached milestone, you know, 0.01.
I mean, I think we're there.
I think so too. And it's really exciting to see people, the analysts working in it this week, and we'll see what happens. I'm pretty confident actually it's going to go pretty well. But yeah, then we should have a toast of some sort, even if it's a virtual emoji in Slack. And we should share with the rest of the group that we reached a milestone, because milestones are nice, and then we can move, then we celebrate for a little bit and then move on to the next milestone, which is great. But I think there was a really great last recent effort to get there. So it's exciting. I'm really excited to see the analysts working in the UI now. So we had, I said we were going to try to save the last 15 minutes for, technical questions, and now we have a minute. But is there anything, were there anything on the technical side that people wanted to quickly bring up, between maybe even a question remaining on the VM or anything else? If not, we can sort of call it a day.
I can post what I discovered somewhere, maybe on a wiki page or something.
Yeah, I'd be curious, but it sounds like it's mostly just an issue either with VirtualBox or with RVM or RVM. So
yeah,
quite far outside of our stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, in the past, have most contributors been Mac based, or do we occasionally get a couple Linux folks?
I very rarely know.
Okay.
People don't usually say unless they're encountering some particular platform-specific issue.
Yeah. My the main reason why I ask is I was wondering if this is something that eventually should go on the README page, or is this sort of obscure enough for setup that we might just put it on like a separate page and not like Dan's concern was that it was going to clutter up potentially the README page for a small subset of users.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what the problem is.
Okay, sure. Okay, so we'll investigate too, and we can find out, and then we can figure out the right place to put this information so that we can try to save some other people time. Excellent. Okay, well, thanks everyone. Oh, totally.
Well, I guess maybe, is it worth just a very quick discussion, brainstorming who would be good to step in, and maybe think about it pretty open-endedly, like, is there an ideal person that could help us with if we had $15,000 to burn right now? I think it's fair to say, like, maybe we need to take some of that money for compute resources. So maybe just worth like a very quick discussion, and then proceed on Slack. I don't know. What do people think?
Sure.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking like better to move quickly, so that we get stuff done.
Yeah, sure. Dan Dotson, do you want to stay? Does Dan need to stay for that? Dan Dotson, or I mean, feel free to stay. If not, you can. It's a slightly, to be honest,
I've just been trying to think if I have any thoughts about that. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know many people who have that kind of availability, who contract, especially on short notice. So, apart from, this guy at Reed College, hopefully he has availability. And yeah, I'm not sure what else to suggest. So, anyways, yeah, I mean, I suppose I can drop off here. But again, apologies for the timing. As far as small requests, if there are any like really self-contained issues that would really help move things forward, please let me know. Things are very much still in flux here, so it's hard to say, but I imagine I can fit some small self-contained things in. But I certainly wish everyone the best, and I wish you all luck and Godspeed. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. We'll be in touch. Yep. So yeah, it's also if with this chunk of money too, I mean, some of it could go to compute costs. Some of it, like, where do you think we need the most help? Because there's also the person who actually introduced me to Dan is Lou, and Rob knows Lou from Code for America. So but he's mostly front end React, and so are we getting sort of too heavy on that, or is it could this be used for some of the back end, like maybe find a Ruby person because there's that larger technical debt issue, which really should happen, I guess, after the earliest after milestone 2, but at some point, trying to consolidate the stack is this lingering, issue at hand that's sort of been on my mind as well. But definitely open to suggestions at this point.
There's no part of the system that does not massively need help. So I wouldn't worry about having too much on the front end parts or not, or anything. We don't have that much resources on any part of it, and all of it needs help. So the only thing I'd worry about is if somebody comes in with Ruby skills and wants to help on DB, that they'd be comfortable killing their darlings, because our goal is to get rid of it, or rather rewrite it, not in Ruby. So that would be the only thing. Somebody who's not going to get all up in arms because they spend
Right.
some time on it, and then we're going to throw it all away.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's probably too early, but maybe I guess initially I was thinking maybe that person would be the person doing the rewriting, but
Totally could be. Then it's you got to find somebody who's reasonably comfortable and skilled in both Ruby
Right.
and Python, who doesn't feel like they just barely know what they're doing in one of them.
yeah.
But we could totally use just a Python person or just a Ruby person on either processing or rewriting DB or on DB. So the great thing about having all the pieces in totally different technologies is that anybody can help.
I mean, if it's not presumptuous, I can say I'm available and interested. I can also vouch for Lou, who I've worked with. I think he's great. So yeah, I don't regard myself as a great Python writer, but I have dabbled a lot in Python and Ruby and others, Go, PHP, whatever's around.
Cool. Yeah, I think why don't we like ruminate on it a little bit? And then we can sort of circle back, but to Toli's point, I think we should try to sort of get on it quickly, just because, there's a lot of work to be done. But we can discuss this in Slack and we can take it offline. Does that work?
Yeah, that sounds good. And I mean, Rob, I know you're saying everything needs help, but if there is something even like a little bit more that's like we should prioritize a little bit more, maybe that we could just use that as a basis to make the decision. Or if it's something that could like take something off your shoulders in a significant way to like make your life easier, which I know there's a lot on those shoulders. But anyway, maybe just to frame it, so that we can have a basis in making this decision.
I mean, I think the only thing I would say in that regard that stands out, is especially more needy than other things, is I hope we've kind of been saying it, but somebody who's like a knowledgeable DevOps or ops type person.
Yeah.
Because we can totally set up servers and do stuff, but both Dan and I are like, we kind of know what we're doing,
Yeah.
but we're not experienced enough there to know the right choice up front, and so we'll waste 5 times more time with somebody who really knows what they're doing it.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that. I think it makes sense to look for someone.
Yeah, and Don had a couple leads, but not on some people that might be able to help on the DevOps side, and I'll follow up on her. It's on my list to do today. Yeah, we got a couple action items to discuss with her. So, but we can bubble that up too. Okay, cool. Well, thanks everyone. Quick reminder: next week we're extending half an hour to just quickly to have a PM check-in. I thought the feedback I got from the first time we did this was super helpful for me personally. And so I'm looking forward to getting feedback again next week. And I updated the calendar in the Google Calendar invite. So hopefully that should be showing up in the Edgy calendar. Okay, great. Thanks everyone.
See you, everyone.
Yeah.